This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm joined today all the way from London, UK, by none other than Vigneron, Victor Ybarra. How are you today, sir?
I'm very good, and I thought I'd tell you I'm in London, and I sound English, as do you, but I am in fact Spanish. Okay, I just thought I'd set that clear for
That's
the
okay.
record.
I'm Scottish, but that's
Scottish,
okay.
oh,
That's
damn, even sorry, you're British. I should.
all good, all good.
Damn,
So we
sorry,
are we are
sorry.
going to be tasting a couple of your Crianza, Rioja Crianza, the 2019, which is in market right now, and the 2020, comparing and contrasting them side by side. Quite different vintages. The
Hmm.
2019 is in market right now, very highly regarded. I'm interested to see how much uh, court those kind of scores that you get, because you have a couple of stickers on here from Robert Parker and the Wine Enthusiast. But I have to say that in tasting this wine, which is 2019 is 1595 in our market, I think it's one of the most exemplary values available right now, particularly when it comes to Rioja.
I think it's terrific value, and we often chastise ourselves for selling the wines cheaply in the market. And that's just, it's our own damn fault because we're terrible salespeople. But but it but you know what? I don't care because it makes it more democratic and it allows us to reach more people. And that's the idea. Yeah. And that's the whole purpose of this wine. Cuna Crianza is the wine that we first started producing back in the 19th century by my great great grandparents, him and his brother. They started the business, and their idea was to make a wine that is best. I hate this. Somebody said the other day it's the SUV of the wine world, and I thought, what are you talking about? But they had a point, yeah, in the sense that an SUV is something that takes you anywhere, yeah, and
Okay,
it might
fair.
be
I wondered
there
where
might
you
be
were going with that, but okay.
yeah, I have a very little car, so I have the opposite of an SUV. But I sort of get that. It's not a terrible comparison because the idea of the Rioja Crianza is that it's a wine that has it's an extraordinary all-rounder. It's a wine that has been softened in oak, not even new oak, so that it doesn't overwhelm you, the oak, but it's been softened in oak for over a year. The fruit is Tempranillo, which by itself is easygoing, and it's had a further aging um, to soften the corners and the edges, and the alcohol is low, the tannins are soft, the acidity is there, and I think that's important because it allows you to drink more. And it's basically a wine that somebody it's Spain's favorite wine. It's the most sold wine in Spain, so that in itself is
Yeah,
that's
sure.
not that's that's quite a good endorsement. But it's a wine that somebody can drink in Tokyo, in Chicago, in Canada, in South Africa. It just goes with everybody, and that is extraordinary because often when you find something which appeals to everybody, you end up with something which is very good. But this works, and that's the idea behind this wine, that it goes with everything, really. It goes with fish, it goes with meat, because it's delicate, but not too much. That's to me, that's the key.
You mentioned Tempranillo. It's not just Tempranillo in there, though.
It's fundamentally Tempranillo, but you're right. It has some Grenache, it has some Mossuello, which they call Carignan in France, and it has a touch of Greciano, which
Ah,
adds a bit of color and a bit of acidity. It's a blend, and one of the interesting things I'll tell you about the vintages because of course they're always important. But the thing about Cuna Crianza is that it has a house style. We've been making it for nearly 150 years, and from one vintage to another it has to change, but it always needs to follow a certain path, a certain style. It cannot be completely different. And this is frustrating for the winemaker because she has to do a wine along certain parameters every year. And that's tricky. She can't do whatever she wants. And why do we do that? Because the people that drink this wine back home in Spain, some people drink this every day for lunch and for dinner. And this is what they like and what they expect. Now, we can't change it because we would lose all these
yeah.
clients that love this wine. So, you know, it, it's some producers are mavericks and they will do something different, completely different every year. And that's absolutely great. That's one of the beauties of wine. But this particular wine, it has to follow a certain house style and it needs to be consistent. It can never disappoint. And in that sense, I think people ask me, what do you compare this wine to? And I tell them, I compare it to Grand Maison non-vintage champagne, to Bollinger non-vintage. And they say, what are you talking about? That's fizzy. And it's, but they have that in common in the sense that I'm a huge fan of Bollinger non-vintage, as well as many other champagnes. I know what the wine should taste like. And if they change it, if they mess around with it, I'll be disappointed. I won't be happy. I know what's there, and it's delicious, and I love it. And the same applies to this wine. You know, it needs to always deliver. It can't just there's no excuses here. You can't have, oh, it was a bad vintage. Well, but you know, tough luck. You know, give me another vintage. I don't want to have a bad one, or it's just not as good, or it's different. No, that's unacceptable.
So the big question is, how do you go about mitigating those variances between vintages?
That's an excellent question. And the way we do it is by virtue of its aging. The fact that we age it for 2 to 3 years in the winery means that basically we can, if we have a bad harvest, and for instance, the 23 was a very tricky harvest, okay? It was bad. We have a cushion. We're selling, well, the vintage now in the market is the 19. You're getting now the 20. In the winery, we have what's left of the 20, which is quite a bit. We have the 21, we have the 22, we have the 23, which is so-so. And then we have the 24, which will come in starting next week. Mm-hmm. So we have a buffer, we have all these wines. And the ones that aren't up to scratch, we will sell. Okay, there's no shame in that. We will get rid of them. Perhaps we'll have to produce more of the 24 to compensate the differences, but we can kind of work with that. Yeah, it reminds me of restaurants that have the best restaurants in my mind are the ones that are always full of people, because you know that the food is going to be good, because otherwise there wouldn't be people there, and you know it's going to be fresh, and you know it's going to be up to scratch. And if they produce some dishes that aren't good, you know they're going to throw them away. Yeah, and they won't make a difference because they're just, you know, it's on the clock, you know, they're producing, and it's just the clock keeps ticking, and the cogs are turning, and you're producing, and that's how it goes with us. You know, this wine's produced all the time, every year, year in, year out. So that's our. If we had two, we could cope with 2 bad harvests in a row. 3 would be in trouble. That would be a problem for us. But luckily, touch wood. Well, I've not seen that, and I've been here for over 20 years. So in that sense, we can commit to doing a high quality product year in, year out. And also, let's not forget the top wines that we produce, like Imperial. Those we only produce in vintages that we consider excellent. So if the year isn't top notch, the fruit and the wine that would go into Imperial will go into Cune. So perhaps it's not good enough Imperial, but perhaps it's good, or if not better, for Cune. So in that case, we're okay. Yeah. So
are you suggesting here that you are allowed to blend a little bit between vintages, are you not?
Yeah, we are. I don't know if I should be saying this, to be honest, because legally, of course, we are.
Everybody who studied wine knows this, but it's a good education.
Well, the EU, so in Europe, the European legislation allows you to blend 15% of a wine from different vintages.
Yes.
Okay. You cornered me into that one, because it's not something I normally talk about, and less in public. But it's actually there's no shame in doing that, I think, you know, because in the end, what's more important, you know, being loyal to a vintage or delivering quality to your customers?
Sure, of course.
Clearly, it's got to be the latter, yeah. So sometimes we do that. If we need to do that, we will do it, absolutely, with these wines, yeah. Now, but the vintage is important, you know, and you can see it in the wines also, the vintage.
When you say a bad vintage, do you normally mean that from a commerce point of view, as in you harvested less grapes? Because quite often you'll harvest less grapes, but they will be of higher quality because of that reduction in the yield.